direct from the web, it's Billy Masters Live. And now, please welcome your host, Billy Masters.
All right, I'm here. Hold on a second. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. Don't mind me. I'm just texting somebody, setting up a sex date for later in the day. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just teasing you all. I'm teasing him as well. There'll be virtual sex. I'll come, he won't. That's virtual sex. Anyway, welcome to the show. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. Today is, of course, Thursday, June 25th, 2020. We are in week 15 of confinement. I don't know. Of course, there are those of you who are not confining. And let me say this to those of you who are not confining. I'm not a preacher. I believe in laissez-faire. Do what you want. Because really, if you want to go out and get coronavirus, frankly, it's not my problem. I got my own problems. But I wanted to say this because I was thinking about this just before we started the show. I had on TV and one of those crazy people was talking about wearing a mask is infringing on their personal rights, and that you cannot mandate somebody do something in their personal life that violates their freedoms. I have one word to say to you. It may be two words: seat belts. Somehow we're able to legislate wearing a seatbelt, which doesn't help anyone else. It just saves you from turning into a projectile should you be in a car accident. And yet we have made that a law. You must wear a seatbelt. Why? For your own protection. Now, face masks, why? For the protection of others. I don't think we're really infringing on anything. Anyway, that is my little spiel about that. But again, do what you want. Unless you're really hot, then, take a little care of yourself. I am so excited because we have none of my friends even know this news. I just found out this news. Next week's shows are booked, and they are not booked the way I thought they were going to be. On Tuesday, we have two of my friends, men of a certain age, who are musical and also sex icons in their own rights. We're going to have Tom Judson, otherwise known as Gus Maddox, and David Pevsner, who wrote some of the music for Naked Boy Singing and other shows of his own. And then Thursday, it's an all-musical week. Thursday, we have Sam Harris and Billy Gilman. Yes, Billy Gilman from, the Jerry Lewis telethons. He was the one who could walk, but he was really small and young. Anyway, he's going to be here. So two openly gay men who had huge careers when they were very young and have continued to be very successful. So it's going to be, oh my God, I'm going to have to be singing next week. Don't ask me to sing. Okay, but starting with the music anecdotes from the past. Since this is an all dragapalooza, I first off, anytime drag is mentioned on this show, I show this photo of me between Jasmine and Mama. A, because it makes me look thin, and B, because I think it was the only day of my life that I had abs. So there you go. I had my day. It was a couple decades ago, but there was a day there. But I have actually many connections with the drag world. I've hosted many drag shows. I've appeared in drag, and I was in a video, a gay porn video. Oh God, I didn't even think of this. I was in a gay porn video in drag. That will save that for another time, but it's really funny. But I was in a gay porn video, not in drag, called Fucking with the Stars. So it was like Dancing with the Stars, but we had a panel of judges who were judging the performance, the fucking. And the panel of judges were Bruce Valanche, Shishi LaRue, and me. There we are. Once again, I'm the thin one. And I was the caustic, difficult judge, which is why somebody only got an 8 from me. Usually people get 8 from me. And there were some outtakes from the video, the shoot, and I found this outtake. And it just made me laugh so much last night. I wish they had kept it in the film. So I'm going to show this to you. I don't know if I've ever shown this to anyone before. So Coco Lachine was the host, and it's the three of us. And so we had to hold up paddles like I'm giving them an aid or whatever. Okay, here's the clip.
Billy scores. Billy Masters,
9.
Shishi LaRue,
10. You're holding up a 7. Crazy drunken bitch. God. Okay, sorry. So unprofessional. First time on the set.
There's another clip where she leaned on the set and it gave a very ominous creak like it was about to fall apart. Anyway, but there's no Shishi LaRue in sight today. We have 3 fabulous drag queens who are joining us, who are probably the top of their game, really. But we have a guy who is the top of his profession, and he wrote the book, literally wrote the book on drag. He wrote the book Drag, Combing Through the Big Wigs of Show Business. And, you know, because I just keep showing photos of myself all day, I don't mean to say this, but I am also the thin one there. And thank God he's laughing. My good friend Frank DeCaro. Where are you, Frank?
You are definitely, and if this quarantine keeps up, you're always going to be the thin one in our little duo. I'll tell you.
But you lost a lot of weight.
Well, I lost 105, pounds, but I put some of it. Sadly, put some of it back. But these things happen. But you know what? The nice thing is you can lose it again, which I plan to do. So, but this. I have to say, eating your feelings during quarantine is fantastic. It's been quite the culinary adventure.
Those of you who have feelings.
Those of you, yeah, I still have a few left, but I take pills to keep them in check. But I try and do all that. So I love it. So we've already done fat shaming. We've done ableist jokes about the guy who can walk on the Jerry Lewis telethon. We've gone right in the gutter already. And
Ageist, looksish, I don't care. Exactly.
No,
you know, if you are easily offended, watch another show. So,
it's true.
Oh, and I didn't say, so if you're watching this, there's always a good chance that something we say will cut the feed on Facebook. And one of our guests is actually banned from Facebook. We'll get to that. But so if you're watching on Facebook, go to YouTube. I posted the link. And when you're there, there's a little button. Oh, I can't find it. It's by Frank, actually.
Yes. It's
press that button. It's over there.
Press this button. There you go.
Oh, exactly. In HR Puff stuff.
Exactly.
So anyway, but you know, if you get cut off, go to YouTube. Anyway, Frank DeCaro, I know, you know, you and I have talked so many times, and I'm always wondering if I've asked a question or not. But what I don't know is how hard was it to sell a book on drag to a publisher?
Well, I was very lucky because Rizzoli came to me about 6 years ago and said, we had a lunch, and an editor there, Rob Perlman, whom I adore. He's gone on to a new job now somewhere else. But he came to me and said, somebody needs to write a book on drag, and I think it should be you.
Why?
And I may have told you this, but I was not convinced it was me. And then I realized that even though I've never done drag other than for, like, I played someone's mother on a web series and, you know, silly stuff. But and never a moment of glamour, unfortunately. But I've had a front row seat to the most talented people of my lifetime who've done the art form. I mean, there are very few that I didn't get to see in person who are the giants of it. And thank heaven that's continued, because your guests, each in their own field, in their own segment of drag, is as good as it gets. They know their history of entertainment, of LGBTQ culture, of drag, and their material is as good as it gets. Your guests today are as good as it gets. And I'm not just blowing smoke. They really are.
Well, you and I have talked about when we've discussed getting guests, and we both had a list of the people who we'd like to see on the show. We had the same names on both of our lists because there are people who are, well, if you're going to do this category, this is the one. And if you want this type, that's the one. And you've spot, and I will say, not to be elitist, in your book, you have spotlighted the best, but some that weren't so fabulous.
I wanted, we'll have to talk names, but I really, it was people who really impacted me. But I mean, honestly, yeah. I think that at the time that book was turned in, everybody who, with one or two exceptions, everyone who was truly exceptional and in it for the long haul was at least mentioned and more likely spotlighted in the book Drag. I mean, they really, once I mean, when I was doing the Rue Girls, because you can't keep up with the Rue Girls, you know, every time you're writing the manuscript, you'd have to add more. But I was like, once I got Alaska and Bianca Del Rio and Chad Michaels, I was like, okay, I kind of, no one can say I don't have the best of the best, you know. Right. So that really, once they had all done interviews and they all did, you know, do some form of an interview new for the book, I sort of was like, well, you can't say I didn't, you know, you can say I didn't get all of the girls in there, but you can't say I didn't get the best of the girls in there up to that point. And now there are a handful more that I'm crazy about. But honestly, you don't want to be bitchy or shady, but
yes, you do.
Okay, well then we'll be shady. There are, I'm generally with Drag Race, I'm impressed with everyone on the stage to some degree. But there are really, you can watch, even from the first few episodes, and there'll be 4 that you think, okay, you're in it for the long haul. Right. You know? And then there are people like your guests today who are, you're just basically like, if they don't win, I'll spit. You know, I mean, there's that feeling of I'll go out of my mind if they do. I remember the season that, you know, that Bianca was on, I went to see a screening of The Normal Heart. And it was the night of the live finale. And I came out of the screening and I called my husband weeping from this AIDS drama that I'd just seen. And my first question was like, did Bianca win? And he was like, do you really want to know? I said, yeah. And he said, yes, Bianca won. And I said, then I can come home. And I hung up the phone and I drove home. But I mean, I was that invested in that. So, but you know, I mean,
well, let me ask you a question. You know, sometimes we will cut each other off because we will talk forever. I mean, as I said, you are one of the best guests I've ever had because I ask you a question and I can go to the bathroom and come back. There are people who I ask a 20-minute question, they go yes, and I'm going to shoot myself. Anyway, was there somebody you wanted in the book who wouldn't give you an interview, that wouldn't be in the book? And it may have been for something like scheduling, even though I never believed that, but was there somebody you wanted that you couldn't get?
Do you know what was really tough to get? And then it worked out so beautifully? Lady Bunny.
Really?
Lady Bunny said, oh, it's one thing if I spout off for a magazine article, but for something that's going to be in people's homes forever, she said, I just feel weird talking about myself and my career in a self-aggrandizing kind of way. And she said no 10 different ways. And we waited and waited. And then finally I called her back one day, and I don't know if she'd taken the edible before I called or if she popped it the moment she decided that it was a go. And we stayed on the phone we stayed on the phone till the edible made her
sleep.
Not sleep, kind of. Yeah, no, what's the word when you're completely cloudy? Until there were clouds in her coffee, she just kept going until it made no sense anymore. But what I had was absolutely brilliant. But and then she ended up doing the audio book. I mean, my audio version of the book, and Lady Bunny read all the drag parts.
And so and the audio book is really its own separate thing. I mean, you can have the book, but if you're going on a road trip, the audio book is a must. You really must get it. It's great. And Bruce Valanche, we should say, Bruce Valanche wrote the foreword.
Bruce wrote the foreword. it took one email. I love that man. It took one email, and he said, "Of course, I'll do it for you." And he pointed out something that, honestly, going into this, I didn't realize, because I've been such a drag fan truly my entire life. The art form of drag has never been given its true due in terms of artistry.
Well, it's true.
And and just as queer history has to be reclaimed, so does drag history have to be reclaimed. And it's sort of important to me, and that's why I wrote this book. It's kind of why I do anything anymore. It's sort of, here's what happened before Drag Race. Here's what you need to know.
Right.
And it's like, and then I like when people are like, "Oh, I'm young. It happened before I was born." Okay, everything good happened before I was born. Okay, and I'm way older than some of these queens. Okay, like I'm way older than all of them, all but Rue. So thank God,
and me, we're pretty close.
But anyway, you know, so but what I say to those people is, Alaska's young and she knows what drag history is and entertainment history. You know, it's like, are you good at what you do? Yeah, then you know the story. It's like, does Chad not know every moment that Cher ever did, and every other great diva? Yeah, of course Chad knows all that.
And I think that brings up a really good point, which is these aren't performers who just look good, and they do all look good. They actually write their material. They direct themselves in most cases. They really are, like stand-ups. You and I are stand-ups. And the great thing about being a stand-up is you are the writer, the performer, the director, often the lighting person, the sound person. It's all up to you whether it works or not. Drag is, again, one of those few things that can actually be contained in one person, unless you are created by somebody, which is a different thing entirely.
Yeah. Well, I always say people who are good at anything truly are supreme. Honestly, you can want to be the next great drag superstar. But if you don't have the talent, no one's going to care, even if you do it. Really, it's dry. It's not my line, but that line that drive doesn't have a patch on talent. It's true. It's like, if you're really talented,
right?
You're really talented. It's like, there's nothing you can, if you're smarter than other people, you're smarter than other people. And, you look at the folks here, they're quick on their feet, which to me is the best thing. Whenever anyone will talk about an interview, remember, Dixie Longate, the
of course,
drag queen. She said to me, "Oh, I get scared coming on talking to you because you're so quick." That's the nicest compliment anyone's ever given me.
Exactly.
But, but it's like, that's who you want to follow, and the quick people are the ones who are in it for the long haul. I think. I mean, it's nice to be able to learn a line and read it, but it's like it's way more fun if you can think on your feet and be smart and have read a book. It's better for you and it's better for the audience. So.
There was a time when I came out, and I'd have to say, I guess the late 80s, where there were a lot of drag queens, but they were not, it was well before the explosion of wig stock, and then obviously after that, RuPaul, where it was just somebody who was really pretty as a boy, who some drag mama took under their wing and said, "Oh, you could be a pretty girl, learn how to lip sync a song, learn how to move, and then get off the stage." And that used to be enough in our local drag bars. And I remember scores of really pretty boys who did that. Drag has now been reclaimed into the art form that certainly these three who are with us today have made it into.
Definitely. And no one is quicker on their feet, than I mean, watch Quesadilla at the Best in Show, Best in Drag show, and it's like,
which is on YouTube. Go look at it.
No matter what happens, the girl is not thrown. I mean, like that brain and that tongue are connected, and there's not a moment that goes by that it's not hilarious. I mean, it's just, and that's what's exciting to watch. That's what I think other entertainers and other performers and the people who are discerning really want to see. You want to see someone who's that good, and folks you're talking to. I've taken over the show.
We know you're
talking to today, and that I featured in the book really are amazing. There are a couple of historic queens that I didn't give enough due to. I mentioned Kenny Sasha in the book, but he was
Of course.
a huge deal, and I should have given him a little
Huge,
more
yeah.
due. I also think, and I don't know if it's for me to do, but someone needs to do a drag king book. I don't think, there hasn't been quite enough of an explosion yet to do a book this big, but there needs to be some drag king book looking at the history, because the history of women, or AFAB people being dressing in masculine attire is as old as the hills. I mean, that's always been the case. So
Yeah, see,
that's
I
the
know
next thing
nothing.
for somebody.
I know nothing about that other than, like Georges Sand and people like that who dressed, and Marlena dressing, but I wouldn't put them in that category. They weren't performing as a man.
Yeah,
I'm
well, we
sure
hear,
there's a lot.
well, there's Stormy DeLarvery, if that's the right way to say it, who was
Yeah.
at Stonewall,
Oh,
and
right.
she performed as a man, in male guise.
And I know
Not,
nothing about her. Yeah.
She toured with the Jewel Box Review and was amazing, But I have to say, the thing that's amazing about drag is the more you dig, the more you find. There was a story recently on drag queens of a certain age, and there were 3 that were considered legendary. It's like, never heard of them, and it's like,
Okay.
you got to keep digging, and it ends up being I hope whoever writes the next book puts more folks in it, and
Yeah.
and
And
does
I say that to people about connoisseurs of any art form, that you can go to some really remote regional theater and see some actor or actress that is every bit as good as Meryl Streep, who just wants to perform in their hometown and just doesn't have that ambition to go elsewhere. Doesn't mean they don't exist.
I don't know if they're as good as Meryl Streep, but yeah, there are people. There's talent. There is talent everywhere.
Yeah.
But
And every city has their
own. You have to want it too.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to want it, and it's you have to want it. I think sometimes. I mean, I think to be Madonna, you have to want it more than anything. To be someone who is a one name person, or really a global megastar. You have to want it at the exception of a day-to-day life,
because you can't have everything.
Often of a relationship, or a marriage, or I mean, it costs a lot to be a superstar, and you kind of have to realize that. I mean, when I was young, I always thought, oh, I'll write this book and I'll get a talk show, and it'll, and I think my whole idea was that. Nothing else mattered. But then you realize as you get older that, maybe being in a 24-year relationship is the greatest accomplishment I've had. Maybe that is the
how nice for you. Rub it in. It's fine. I'm sitting here touching myself with strangers on the web, but that's fine. It's fine.
Also good, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I'm fine.
So I want to do it. I decided yesterday. Oh, I have 2 things we have to throw this out there. So you said about people not wearing masks. Okay.
Yeah.
To me, this is the one thing I want to put. It's not a personal choice, really.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
To me, look at it this way. When you bake, do you not wear oven mitts? Because it's the same idea, okay?
And if you don't want to, that's fine with me. Right.
Yeah, okay. It's like, think of it as oven mitts for your face. Okay. And that's one thing. And the other thing was, I want to do a gay, dirty movie now. But I want it to be Douglas Sirk style. So a big melodrama, big 50s melodrama. But it's going to be called All That Kevin Allows. Okay. And so it's going to
allows a lot.
He does a lot. And so we'll cast for this later. This is my these are the things I think of in quarantine. It's like what I want to do.
All right. we all have way too much time on our hands. But one of the things that came up for me in quarantine was my phone. Our phones are smarter than we are. And my phone 2 weeks ago, came up and said, here's a memory of where you were at this moment last year. And it was backstage with you. Where were we? Is that the Barnes & Noble?
Backstage at Barnes & Noble at the Grove. Okay. And it was the launch in June. It was for Pride Month here in LA. And there's the gorgeous Alaska and Cassie Roll and Bruce Valanche and Frida Lay. Thank you.
Frida Lay.
So unless I've got all the names backwards, in which case,
well, But but I just saw this and I thought to myself, oh my God, we were all there a year ago. And then I remember that day vividly because there was standing room only. Again, people have to understand we're at the Grove. You all hear about the Grove. The Grove is huge. The Barnes and Noble there, I think, may be the biggest Barnes and Noble there is. There was this little, like, it's not even a room, it's like a wing of the Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And when you came out, you said I had come in and you said, how many people are out there? And because people walk around, you can't tell. Once you got in, it was standing room only. People were waiting. And before we get to our first guest, I learned something that I didn't know about, which was about, oh my God, what's his name? Is it Michael Weiss? No, the father on Family Ties.
Michael Gross from Family Ties.
Yes. So
Alex
tell that story.
Keaton's father. I was at an event for women writers in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him and I went up and said, oh, it's such a pleasure to see you, and blah, blah, blah. And he asked who I was, and we were chatting. So I said, oh, I'm working on this drag book. And he said, I made my Broadway debut in drag. And I said, what? And he said, I was the original Greta, the drag queen, the evil Nazi drag queen in Bent. So
which in the LA revival recently was Jake Shears.
Right.
Which you could see the entire performance on BillyMasters.com.
Oh, he's quite.
He was great.
I do love me some Jake, but yeah. So Michael J. Fox's TV dad was a drag queen in his Broadway
and
show,
got his start. And then there was a story I spoke to him afterwards that he almost didn't take it because he had another show off Broadway that he wasn't. It was something weird that the scheduling worked out that he was.
He only did Bent for a few weeks, and then he went over and did another show.
Right. That he was already committed to.
Yeah, because I said, I must have seen you then, because I did see the original Bent with Richard Gere and David Marshall Grant and Kai Wolf and his chubby. There was a blonde who came out with his tallywhacker hanging out. And it was nice. And even though it's been 50 years, probably, no, it's 40 years. It's I remember that wiener like it was yesterday.
Wow.
Because I never forget a peen,
Well,
so,
exactly.
but it was, anyway, but apparently he was only in it for a few weeks. So I don't know if I saw Michael Gross in that part. But
and he was very proud of the fact that he did it and had a place in your book. And he came to the book signing to tell his story, which was, again, fascinating. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was good. And Mama was there. And so people, it was a lot of, it was pretty swell.
Well, oh my God, we were all there.
So, yes.
Okay, I gotta go. God, we talked so long, but we're gonna
talk to other people.
That's right.
Now
half an hour. I want to talk to everybody individually, but again with you, so you're staying. Don't go anywhere. The first person I'll talk to is Alaska because she's the one I know the least about. Alaska Thunderfuck is legendary, and we're not even. Oh Jesus, this happened Tuesday. Charles Bush almost fell off of his chair. It was almost a stuff film. Anyway, things fall. That's television. Anyway, Alaska Thunderfuck is legendary. And when you ask people of the most popular person who came out of RuPaul's Drag Race, Alaska is usually the number one person on the list, if not maybe in the top 3, but usually all the lists I looked at, they all talked about Alaska. So I'm thrilled to have her here, Alaska Thunderfuck. Hello, my darling.
Hi, how's it going?
So good to see you.
Now,
again, when you are as a boy, do you want to be called Alaska? What do you want? What do you like being called?
Yeah, everybody calls me Alaska. That's fine. I mean, my name is Justin, but really, my mom calls me that, my brother, but that's about it.
How did you come up with the name?
Marijuana. But really, I was in college and I was really stoned, and some of my friends were talking about different strains of marijuana that they had smoked. And someone was like, yeah, I was in Amsterdam and I smoked Alaskan Thunderfuck. And I was just I was so blown away by those words that I was like, that's my drag name. It's absurd. It makes no sense. It's easy to spell. And so, yeah, that's where it came from.
And then there was a problem where you had to change it for television.
I mean, it wasn't like a meeting or something. Like they just didn't say my last name. They were just like, "You are Alaska now." I mean, it wasn't like a choice. It just kind of, that's how they did it.
But what I love about you is that you are so talented as a musician, as a singer, as a performer. You really have taken the opportunity that the platform of doing the show gave you, and you've gone into the stratosphere. I mean, people who don't even watch the show know you. And I think that's extraordinary. Was that by design, or was it just, did it all happen?
No, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess it's luck. I guess it's like hard work. It's like taking the opportunities as they come and just kind of saying yes to them and like going with it. Like that's a lot of it. And it was just like timing and just like luck and just like the Lord, and I mean, really it's just the whole thing. But really like Drag Races, I mean, there's my life pre-Drag Race, and then there's my life after Drag Race, and it really changed my life, and it changed a lot of people's lives, and it's continuing to change the world, and like I'm grateful about it all the time.
This is off subject. I wasn't going to mention this, but you also showed up in a recent Netflix documentary about Circus of Books bookstore. So during the day, as presumably always as a boy, although you'll tell me if you didn't, you worked at the legendary adult bookstore.
Yeah, I did. I worked there for exactly 1 calendar year. And a few years ago, Rachel Mason, who's the daughter of the owners of Circus of Books, she asked me if I wanted to sit down and do an interview. And then like years later, it came out on Netflix, and the movie's really amazing.
It really is.
I really liked it.
Well, yeah, I think, for somebody who lives in LA, you kind of take it for granted that everyone knows the story. But for people outside, it's an older, straight couple, Jewish, and who owned this gay, dirty bookstore, not just gay, but in the middle of West Hollywood. And they seem like lovely people. Yeah,
I mean, I was mostly scared of Karen because she was my boss, but I mean that's that was the actual dynamic going on. But I learned so much watching the movie, and it was very like inspiring and like eye-opening, and I loved it. It was really good.
You were great in it. Let me ask Frank. Frank, what was it about Alaska that made her stand out above not only everyone in her season, but of all seasons? As I said, I keep seeing her topping all the lists.
Well, don't be embarrassed. There's genuine star quality there, and it's kind of, if you have any taste at all, you just kind of look and go, "You're fascinating." But I think it's hard work. I think it's innate talent. I think it's unexpected choices. But mostly, I think it's bringing it. I've never seen Alaska do anything and not bring their whole person to it. And there's an intellectual curiosity to me that as a person, I find Alaska fascinating. When I was saying that, people will say, "Oh, well, do drag queens know drag history?" And I said, "The smart ones do." And it's this way now on the screen. But Alaska is one of those people. There's an intellectual curiosity, but it's just it's all of as you said, it's all of those things. But I also like that saying where they say you can't really hide it under a bushel basket. You're like, because it's like, if you're really good and you have a lot of thought that goes into what you do, then you're going to stand out. I mean, I think that, well, let's put it this way. When I was doing this book, there were some drag queens who, when I sent them a list of questions, someone responded with 450 words to 10 questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd get at the other extreme, you get someone like Varla Jean Merman, who would send you back, or Joey Arias, who would send you back screen after screen after screen. And they would apologize. I'm sorry this is going on so long, but I really want to answer these questions. And I think that that's part of it too. It's how serious do you take your work, as lighthearted as it is. But there's also magic. I don't know why Your Makeup is Terrible is a song I've listened to 10,000 times, but I have. It's
I don't
just,
know either.
it makes me laugh every time. It's hilarious. I don't, you know, and
It's
there's
a good song. I
it's
mean,
a
I think
great
we have to,
song.
you know, that's the thing that I think gets lost is that they'll look at the look, they'll look at the humor, they'll look at the outrageousness, but there also has to be real talent there for those things to hit the way they do.
And I think also a little bit of madness never hurt anyone. There's a moment in that song where Alaska says, "This is the really serious part of the song," that makes me laugh. So that's so funny to just underline that. And it's, you know, you just sometimes it just is I'm a student of comedy very much, but when you watch those moments where it tips over into that kind of Rachel Dratch, Gilda Radner, Pee Wee Herman madness, you're like, okay, you're one of the all-time greats, you know. So that's what my spiel about Alaska and why I'm fan number 1, or number 3, it's 11, whatever. I'm up there though. I'm a big fan, and I have that T-shirt. We drove. Jim Colucci, my husband, the Golden Girls expert, and I drove. I will not go into a store other than a grocery store. And I was like, they've got the T-shirts at Target and WeHo. We're going. And so the other night, we braved Target and WeHo to get matching Golden Girls Queens T-shirt. I was going to run up. If I went off screen, I was going to run and get it and come back wearing it and just be sitting here like that. But so anyway, that's my fan letter. I have a fan letter for every person who's on your show. So go ahead.
Alaska, how does that all make you feel? I mean, is it gratifying that people get it, or does it surprise you, that level of enthusiasm for what you do?
Well, I mean, it's very nice, and I thank you very much. That's fierce. I don't know. It's like an ongoing thing. And I mean, you were like, you've never seen anything that didn't have, you know, all of it there, but there's plenty of like horrible mistakes as well. So, I mean, it's just like, but like at the end of the day, like drag is, I feel like it's like a calling. It's like being a nun kind of. So it's like, it's just what I'm like, it's what I love to do. And I love drag so much, and it has changed my life so much. And I don't know what I'd do without it. So I don't know. I'm just a nun in the church of drag. That's all.
Does it feel like a job to you when you're doing it, or is there still this, you know, fun and joy to it, or is it both?
Well, it's just like anything. It's like a balance, because it's very easy to just get caught in like, I mean, that's obviously not now, because so much of my job was like traveling in airports and live shows. That was my job. So it was constantly doing that all year long. And so now that's been on pause, and I still don't miss the airport. I still haven't, there hasn't been one day in these like 4 months or whatever that I've been like, you know, I wish I could just take that hour-and-a-half ride to LAX right now. I just wish. But oh, that's my roommate's phone. But it's a beautiful song. But yeah, I don't know. It's like finding a balance.
What I noticed about you at the Barnes and Noble thing, and it was the first time I had met you in person, is that you wear your name and your drag very effortlessly. You have a very laid back attitude about all of it, and even when you're getting the praise, even if inside you're jumping up and down excited about it, you don't show that. Is that just who you are, or is that a conscious choice?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate it, but I take it like it, you know, I take it like anything. you know? So like you can't like identify with that. It's just like it's great to hear. Like I love that. Like I love I mean, I love, Frank, that you are such an admirer of drag and such a lover of drag like that, because like so am I. So like I just like I love that.
To me, drag is the link to the entertainment of my childhood and before, because I think drag queens will do anything to make an audience happy. And it's not the what's the cool thing to do, it's the, oh Jesus, you're here, I better think of something. And that to me is old style entertainment. It's like you thought that was good, wait till you see this, and then you go to the next level. And I think that's where it comes from. I say in the book that it's like watching the when I went to the Battle of the Seasons, that tour that the drag girls did from RuPaul. I said it was like watching Ed Sullivan, but 40 years later, and it was someone was juggling knives to the love theme from Eyes of Laura Mars. It's like, that's deranged. I mean, that's a guy spinning plates in 1952. Or
right, yeah, exactly.
It's like Candace Bergen's father used to did a ventriloquist act on the radio. That's the kind of deranged quality to me is what drag is. It's nuts. But it's genius. It's and it's true. Wait till you see this, you're going to be entertained. And you girls have all risen to the occasion during COVID by doing this online stuff. It's it's not just, oh, I could use some grocery money. It's, what can I do to contribute to the effort? And you're like, well,
and to entertain. I think you hit it with entertaining. I think that, the drag queens, and I've seen a lot of the shows, it's like we want to keep people entertained, because if not, you're going to sit home and cry because the world is falling apart. And we have so much to really applaud drag queens, particularly during Pride Month, as we talked about. Really, the Pride movement was started by drag queens, arguably, but I'm not going to argue it. And I think there is a place for people who really push boundaries. I think that's what keeps society moving forward. So in this time, I think it's never been more evident than in the time we're living through. So I certainly applaud the efforts of all of you girls and guys. But I just want to ask you, before we go to the next person, when you do the music, do you also want to be funny, or is there time that you say this is just going to be about music?
It's like a mixture, because it's like, because like, I think the songs that resonate the most with people have like a humorous element to them. But we also like set out to make it like good music that you could hear in a club and not be like, what the fuck is this? So like the producers do a great job, and like the people who make the music and like do all that. We want it to be like a great song, but it can have like, I like it to have a humorous element to it. But sometimes I do a serious ass song too. And if you listen to my albums, like the full album, we sneak in a couple of songs that there's no jokes, they're just fucking songs, because that's part of like, I don't know, that's part of just what I love, and I love doing it. And it's also like, it's also unexpected. It's not just like, here are the jokes. It's like
right,
a little bit of everything.
And that you can just walk away appreciating it on a musical level. Alaska, hang on. We're going to bring you back with the whole crowd, but I want to get to the next guest.
Okay.
We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you, dear. Okay, next up. Now, this person I have known for a really, really long time. When I first moved to LA, one of the first people I met was Chad Michaels. And I found this photo. So I don't even know what this is, where this is. But there we are. And first off, I'm thinking, God, I remember those pants. I could barely get a calf in there today. But I remember seeing Chad walk by and saying to myself, oh my God, I might as well have been looking at Cher. And one of the nicest people I ever met. So I am thrilled to finally have him on the show, Mr. Chad Michaels.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hey.
Great to see you both.
So what was that one of those Jasmine benefits? Is that what that was?
Yeah,
from?
now I knew that picture the second you put it up. That was at the factory, and that was
Oh, okay, that was the dragging you out, right?
But I also remember at that one, if you remember, Billy, Chi was there, and she sat down on one of those folding banquet tables and collapsed it. She's like, "God damn it, you son of a bitch!" She started cussing. It was so funny.
And
anyway.
And instead of going to help her, I took photos.
Yeah, I remember you took photos. You did.
That's what I did. And then there's the last photo, she's just giving me the finger like that. And Shishi, by the way, has been watching. I don't know if she is still watching, but Shishi, if you are there, text me on Facebook. We'll bring you on because it would be great to have you join us.
The miracle of that photo you showed earlier with Bruce and you and Chi-Chi, to me, the first thought in my mind was, it's a miracle you're all still alive. So I'm happy to see you today.
It is a miracle to all of us. Are you kidding? That's actually interesting. How have you been faring during this quarantining? Where are you? Are you in LA?
I'm in San Diego. I've always lived in San Diego. It's been a roller coaster. From day one, we were in London the day Trump started locking down flights. So we got in by the hair of our chin. But it's been a long ride, and we've just been trying to stay sane and stay inspired and stick together, and it's been crazy. I'm sure it's been crazy for you guys. It's insane.
We were talking about the difference, what RuPaul's Drag Race brought to people's careers. However, you had a huge career even before that. And again, because you focused so much of your career on doing Cher, that's what everyone knew you from. And you had actually toured. Did you tour with Cher or just appear with Cher?
No, I didn't tour with Cher. That was actually, he's an icon of mine, Elgin Kenna, and he toured with her in the 90s. But I've gotten to perform. I got to open for her once at David Foster's home in Malibu. There was a night up in LA at Rasputin when she did her Woman's World release party. I got to go out and perform and do a little meet and greet. So I've met her several times over the years, and she's always just been amazing. Just what you think she is. You know what I mean? And she's just a cool chick.
You did the talk as well, because I was in the audience that day.
With Max.
Were you there, Frank?
Yeah, we were in the audience that day. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. The best thing about that day was Bob Mackie. He was so generous because he was there pretty much from the time we arrived at the studio, and he made time to come into my dressing room and sit with me and Adam and just talk. I mean, no pretense, no nothing, just looked at my costume. He went over the costume with Adam because Adam had just recently made it, and it was one of her newer looks. So he looked it up and down and gave it the once over, and I just kind of stood there while they talked. And then that was a really amazing thing to see him out of his reference point and just sitting in a random room, just having a conversation. It was wonderful.
Yeah, one of the things about Bob is that he is a huge fan of Cher impersonators. I vacationed with Bob in Provincetown, where he will have no less than 3 around him at any time.
But with the one from Provincetown, and she's Scott? So amazing. Yes, and sings live, and he's really sublime. He's really sublime. I love him. We've just recently, over the last 2 years, kind of connected on Facebook, and I just love him. He's definitely inspirational for me.
And didn't you just recently appear on the Ellen show? That was you, right?
Yeah, I did Ellen with Sean Hayes while Ellen was off, and they just my agent knows the producer, and they just had a really funny little one-off idea that we just pulled a little stunt in the audience, but it was fun. It was so fun.
So how did you get involved with RuPaul?
Well, Ru had come to our shows. Now we go back to Mickey's with Dreamgirl days, early 2000s. So that's where we know each other from. And for me, I was bartending in the 90s, and we would get these mixtapes from ET Video Link, and there would be Supermodel, there would be whatever song, and so always in my consciousness there. But when we started doing the shows in LA, he would pop in from time to time and sit and watch the show. Performed with him once at Peanuts, Club 7969
Oh, sure,
at
right.
Santa Monica Boulevard. And, you know, he always just seemed to come in and just get a real kick out of the show and just seemed happy to be there, let his guard down. And then and then came the day at Rage when one of the guys from season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race came in to headhunt all of us, basically. And he came in and gave us the spiel and said, we're doing this thing with RuPaul, and what you're going to do is you're going to go into a 99-cent store and you're going to grab as much stuff as you can, and then you're going to make an outfit and we're going to film
So
it.
it's like Project Runway all of a sudden.
Kind of, but it seemed a little sketchier to me. It seemed, it seemed like it could be a booby trap. So at that point, I said no at that point, and we all said no except Chanel, and Chanel went and did it. And I think that all of us sitting there watching season 1 were going like, oh, we really screwed up. So because, you know, we didn't know what it was going to be, but then when you see it, it was so much fun and what we had all been waiting for, you know what I mean? This platform, this opportunity. So so I applied season 2 and they said no. And then I applied season 3 and they said no. And they put me through it, and I don't blame them, but I think that it was very like, okay, we offered it to you once, now you're going to have to work for it. And,
Right.
And I worked for it, and I did. So.
And just because you mentioned the night with Cher at Club Rasputin, we do have photos here. So let me just show.
Oh, look at you. Yeah.
And
that was the moment. She was like, look at you, you're so cute. You got the little thing, and I got this thing, and you got. It was so funny.
and then I found this photo. See, this is why when I'm not looking at you, it's because I'm trying to produce the show by myself. Somebody put this photo together, and I am assuming I'm seeing it smaller. Can you tell us about this?
Oh God, that's an old one. That was like when Living Proof came out, and we shot that at my clothing designer's studio here in San Diego. And you know, it's always been my thing to kind of dupe it out and trick the eye and, you know, produce something that is as close to being mirror image as possible. I can see I've kind of missed the mark a little bit there, but that's okay.
No, I think actually, I think you look more like Cher than Cher usually. Look, I think Cher would give you that rib she took out if she could.
It was
which we
meaty,
know
tender, and
she did.
delicious.
Yes, exactly. I love somebody that will pick up that cue. So what was your experience on, well, actually, not that, what was your experience on RuPaul's Drag Race? Because who cares? But what was the experience afterwards? Because you had been such a star beforehand. How did being on that show change your career?
Well, I mean, before I've been with my same agent for 21 years now. His name is Stephen Ford, and his with Divas and DJs. And so I did the show, and I, you know, to myself questioned, like, they weren't, like, he wasn't working the Drag Race circuit. Like, he was booking me on other things, and they
American
were
Idol singers.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you know, he was booking me before Drag Race at like the different clubs, but the clubs were more at that point pageant hubs, as opposed to being Drag Race hubs, which everything kind of turned into, and then has kind of gone back the other way now. But yeah, I just I'm sorry, I'm drifting now. one more time with the question. Sorry.
So now what, you know, the difference in gigs and attention post RuPaul.
It got, I definitely got busier afterwards, started working the circuit, but I've still been blessed to work, you know, the convention circuits, the private sector, the commercial sector. But, you know, I definitely got a lot more, you know, notoriety after the show, but it hasn't been, you know, the smoothest ride the whole way. You know, there's drawbacks to everything.
Give me an
social media is really tough. It's really tough, and it's really tough on me because, you know, I'm already probably my own worst critic. So, you know, you start hearing these voices out there, you have to learn to deal with that, and you have to learn what's going to be the best way for you to navigate through social media without completely losing your mind.
Do you read everything? Because I do, and I'm told I shouldn't. But.
I don't anymore. No, I don't, because, you know, it's really not. It's it's subjective. It's drag is
And it's
subjective.
not healthy. It's also not healthy. I find that, 99% of the time, if I am driven to post something, it's because I don't like something. When I like something, you're not as driven to post.
Right.
So what you're really reading is skewed negatively, but that's not a representation of what people really think.
And it's very true. And you have to keep that in mind and just, crash forward.
I say that as if I listen to it, and then they say that Billy Masters isn't funny and he's fat, and then I go and eat a cake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know.
Hey, I hear you. It's one comment, and it doesn't even. It could just be where the hell have you been for the last 5 years? And you're just like, that could ruin your morning. And you're like, I've been working. I do stuff. I toured the country. I do stuff. But yeah, you take it in. But I think someone a couple of years ago got into it with me, and they said, you're not allowed to be offended. Do you know how lucky you are? And I thought, oh, what a way to look at it. That because, and they were like, you have a husband, you have this, and they followed my life, and they're throwing everything I'm grateful for, but they were throwing it in my face. Like, you don't get to be hurt by what somebody says on the internet.
That's a harsh thing to say, because we all chose to put ourselves here. We put ourselves in the public eye, so we have to keep that in mind. But that doesn't make it any more or less unsettling or hurtful or whatever. So, like I said, you figure out a way, to keep your sanity and move forward and move through it, and just let people have their opinions. What I do is very specific, and it's not everyone's gonna like what I do. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. So,
and well, I also think that there is truth to that, in the sense that all of us on the show today are so lucky. We all have such wonderful lives. We are blessed. We worked for it. God knows nobody handed anything to me. But that doesn't mean that you can't be hurt or you can't have a bad day. But in the scheme of things, whenever I hear something, particularly something really nasty, I think to myself, it's so I'm projecting, but I'm like, oh, what a sad life that person must be having, or what a bad day that he had to lash out to me. Like, really? That's the high point of their life.
Yeah. Sometimes if you get into a conversation with these people, you discover the reasons why. You know what I mean? It's just one simple reply, not being defensive or aggressive, can go a long way.
Turn it around. Yeah.
It really can. Yeah.
I'll just get to this very quickly, but I had done a cameo in porn. It might have been the one that I just showed the clip from, but somebody said to me, Billy Masters, are you still in porn? And I wasn't sure what offended me more, the still, like I'm 150 years old, or the fact that I could be in a porn. Like, what was the problem? So,
I think longevity is something to be admired. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Look, and Cher is a great example of that.
Yeah, she sure is. She keeps on ticking.
Were you drawn to her because of your appearance to her, or was it because of your love of her?
It's a funny story. No, actually, Madonna was my teenage idol, and I, whatever, playing around, dressing up, through my teenage years on into my early adulthood, I always wanted to impersonate Madonna, and I didn't have the facial structure for it. And as hard as I tried, as many people who tried to paint me, it just didn't work out. So my drag mother, who kind of took me under her wing, got me going with the Cher gig. So,
and obviously you identified with it. It wasn't something you.
It's been, Cher has always, been in my consciousness growing up in the 70s, watching the Sonny and Cher show on green shag carpet. There I was right in front of the TV. So it's always been there. And maybe a little too young to understand what she was about, but she was always that, that raven haired dark lady with the sparkly costumes. And, I was like a little gay crow, just like attracted to it. But, as I got into it and started doing it because of my facial structure, it really has been a character study. And it's been more of I've just gained a lot of respect for her. Not being a goo like crazy fan beforehand, learning about her, learning her story, learning her body of music, learning her body of work, and then, you know, breaking it down to, you know, to her mannerisms and the way she holds her face, and when she, where she, you know, all those little things have broken down into, I have a lot of respect for her. I admire her, and I'm very grateful to her for never suing me.
I don't know. Frank Marino did very well by being sued by Joan Rivers, so
He did,
a
he did.
lawsuit can help. But before we go on to the next one, I just want to ask you, how has she been to you as a person? Because when you meet an idol, it can go either way.
Mm-hmm. She was lovely. The first time I said, like earlier, before I met her at David Foster's home in Malibu, and she was actually ill that night, and he was doing a fundraiser. I think it was for Santa Monica Harbor that year. He had 500 guests, including Barbara Streisand and James Brolin, sitting front and center, which I almost turned
All right,
into a
can
pillar
I
of salt.
again say how lucky all of us are?
Yeah,
Because someone's sitting home saying, "Don't cry, you're at a party with Barbara Streisand and Cher."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we are very lucky.
Yeah. So she was cool, and she just she looked at me, she said, "You look pretty good." And I said, "Thank you." You know, it's always just been simple. They've always been rushed meetings. They've just been really quick little encounters, but she's always made an effort to show me extra kindness. So
that's lovely. I'm going to put you backstage, and we'll bring you back at the end. Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, our next guest, I adore Quesadilla more than I can say, because she, again, I'm a little bit of a clown. I love a character. I love a personality. People in Boston will know that when I used to host shows here in Boston a million years ago, I played a Latin singing sensation. So I love an ethnic drag queen. I just think it's so funny. It's very Rita Moreno in the Ritz. And I've got this photo with me with Chico's Angels. And Chico's Angels just did a benefit reading last night. And Kay will tell us all about it. But please welcome the fabulous Quesadilla. Oh, she's bigger in person than I thought. Oh, the camera really does add 10 kilos.
She said it. Wait, she said it, not me. There we go.
Oh, wait.
I'm muted. Sorry.
Hi. How are you, my darling?
Keeping it sexy. Keeping it sexy.
Oh. So now, first off, I see you and I smile. And I don't know if it's the makeup, the hair, the jewelry, the outfits, or is it your being? But you always give off such positivity and exuberance and joy whenever you perform. And is that who you really are? Or are you
my God. Between Frank talking about me investing in drag show, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna leave right now because they're describing a different you know what? It's funny because my art, my drag, my comedy really pretty much represents a part of me that I was so ashamed of. So to me, it's all a big celebration. So that's why there's so much joy in what I do. And I love it. I grew to love it because in the beginning I was just riddled with fear. That I was just making a fool of myself. And then when I embraced that making a fool of myself is what's funny, it just became this joyful experience for me. And I always tell people I love it 90% of the time. I love it.
What about the 10%?
The 10% is, I'll tell you, I'm a parent now. I have a 3-year-old son. And there's just days where I'm having to put the makeup on. He's pulling on my leg. And I'm about to go online to do a show or something, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I wish I had nothing to do. I just want to be a parent right now.
Frank, am I alone in thinking that I would love to be Quesadilla's child?
You want to be my children?
I want to know how, you got your pre-pregnancy weight, but you got your body back immediately. You look.
Oh, wait.
Really,
We're losing Frank, your audio is not great. Your audio is not great. Let me see if it's on here. Let me take you out and I'll bring you back in. Try again, Frank.
Is that any better now?
Much better. Perfect.
No, I was going to say, Kay, you had the kid, you got right back to your fighting weight immediately. You look beautiful. So you didn't let the pregnancy do anything bad. and you're as glamorous as ever. But I wasn't just blowing smoke before talking about you. You're the quickest wit, and it's such a delight to watch you rock a mic, especially if something gets thrown at you. To watch you just hit it over the net is just delightful. So
I gotta say, and I appreciate it. It's so different from what I think about myself in my mind. And I'm not like I'll tell you, self-deprecation I find very sexy and funny.
Yeah, me too.
When I hear someone call me quick-witted, I'm like, really? Are they in my brain? Because I feel like I know nothing.
You know, there was I am the same way, that I'll remember a show that we did and I'll say, oh, if only I'd come up with that line a little quicker. And then I look at it back and it couldn't have been quicker if you tried. So we're all more enemies. So Kay, let's talk about Best in Show, because that was really people who don't know, there was a documentary about it. Best in Show is an annual drag competition in Los Angeles, raises money for, is a project
for the Healing Alliance. It's 8 for 8.
8 for 8, okay. And was it your first year that you were in it?
So no, what happened was he was battled for the tiara for 10 years back in the 90s. And then Alexis Pittman, who created that show along with Patrick Rush, passed away, and they decided to put it to bed along with Alexis. And what happened was a new group of guys came in and they produced a version of it called Quest for the Crown. Was more like a Miss Universe pageant. And I was a contestant in that first year. Now, that pageant ended up being a mess and was not raising any money for the organization. So Patrick Rush and his group of people came back in and they produced Best in Drag Show, and it became, again, very successful. And at like year 10 or 11, I became a commentator for them, and I did that for 6 years. And then Patrick Rush decided to retire, and they asked me to take over as host, and I was like, what? Are you talking to me?
And then now the rest is history. It's really you.
Yes, and you are a wonderful, wonderful host of that show. And, in addition to everything else.
Well, I appreciate that. I think a lot of it has to do with it kind of, although it's on a much bigger scale, I host Tupperware parties. I had been doing that for 18 years. Hosting or keeping an audience entertained for long periods of time started to become natural to me. Yeah. And it's funny the things that you say about being quick-witted, because I live for awkward moments. Yeah, I live for it because it just creates it feels like, oh, what's gonna happen? And I love the anxiety that it creates for people and even on myself. So I think whatever you're describing as quick wit, to me, it's an abundance of just the synopsis are all going at once, and I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen? What can I do?
So now I mentioned Chico's Angels. Tell people how Chico's Angels got started and what it is.
So Chico, I used to perform with the Plush Life back in the day, which was an old improv drag soap opera. And we did an episode one day where Gina Locherman, who is Mr. Dan, who runs the the Casita del Campo Mexican restaurant. So he ran that show, and we did an episode that his granddaughter got kidnapped, and he hired Charlie's Angels to come rescue his granddaughter. And I played Kelly Garrett, and the night just was his episodes we had done. And I got that idea that same night of doing a Latin version of Charlie's Angels called Chico's or Chepe's Angels or something like that. So Mr. Dan encouraged me to put it on stage because I was going to write a short film. He encouraged me to put it on stage, and as I started writing it, I quickly realized I'm not a writer. So Kurt came on board, and he helped me write and produce.
Kurt Kohler, who's a good friend of ours.
Cassie Rowe.
Yes.
Yeah. So he helped me put it on stage, and the rest is history. We've been performing it for going on 18 years. And
you just did yesterday. Oh, look how this does it. When you're in the middle, it pushes us out. Stab you. It's like you're in the middle of a three-way here.
Right? I'm the Oreo cream.
You are the cream in our cookie. So how did the reading go last night?
It went well. Also, and I forgot to say, Chico's Angels is based on the 70s series Charlie's Angels. We actually literally took all the episodes and put them on stage and just added music. So I described Chico's Angels as if Charlie's Angels and the Three Stooges had a Mexican baby. But
Can I ask you, Kay, how do you feel about? Has there been any call to be more politically correct? Because when I see a poster of yours and you'll call something a Juan, Juan, woman, Cho, CHO. Is anyone ever get offended by that or say you're not helping or, don't do that?
It's
hilarious.
Not in any real substance, but I'll tell you, that's what I was saying at the beginning here. My work is kind of a celebration of every stereotype that I was ashamed of growing up. And it's just a big celebration because stereotypes are based on fact, but they're also real people, and they're great people.
And I think that anytime a comedian takes a stereotype, they exaggerate it to underline. I mean, that's what we do. And if anybody turns on Telemundo or Univision, these people exist. I watch Caso Cerrado every day. I grew up watching La Movida. So I mean, these women that have the gardenia in their hair and the really tight dresses that are 4 sizes too small, they exist. Yep. No, I mean, and it's, I think because you are a Latin person, you can get away with it. Whereas if I did it or Frank did it, somebody could be offended.
For sure. I mean, I'm not doing blackface. I'm performing as my own race.
Right, exactly.
Family's from Tijuana, and that's where the characters, she's like a former beauty queen model from Tijuana. Biggest thing that ever happened in Tijuana, and she takes that everywhere she goes. So that's the character. But yeah.
Do you enjoy being when you do things on your own and you do things as part of the ensemble with Chico's Angels? What do you prefer? Do you like being on your own, or do you like being part of a group?
I love being part of the ensemble. In fact, I remember the first time I did my one woman show called my Juan woman show called Taco Kisses. I'd never been so scared in my life because I felt like I was walking on a tightrope the entire time. And but
you never get over that, Frank and I.
It's true because I've done it since many times, and I still get that feeling like I'm about to destroy my own life right now.
Right.
And but there's something about Chico's Angels to me. It almost represented creating this family that I created in my adulthood of people that I want to play with on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Danny and Ray, who play Cheetah and Frida on there, are become like my brothers. So I are my sisters, if you want to say it that way. But by
the way,
yeah, I love it. I love performing in an ensemble. I would love to be on Broadway. I would love to be in a play or any kind of musical. And
have you acted?
I have done regular acting, and it's funny though because it was one of those things where I just dabbled in it in the beginning, and then it started really becoming an art form for me. And then I started taking acting lessons, and I've done many commercials in Spanish and in English as a boy. And but yeah, I have acted, and my dream job is to have my own sitcom. I want to do like a modern day I Love Lucy.
You are.
Yeah.
And I want to just correct something you said when you said you're not a writer. You have created a character. You have written that character. There are people, when you see the beginning of a sitcom, it will say story by and then written. There are people who come up with the story, and really you need them. And then there's somebody who sits and writes each word. You are a writer. You may be broad strokes and you may not have all the nuances, but you have created a hysterical, nuanced character.
Well, thank you. And I have since feel like I should put it this way. I can write myself a monologue. Yeah. I can write a whole broad story by myself, but I can write with someone.
Yeah, so that is writing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was going to say, then you're a writer. That's right. Writer, performer, quesadilla.
There are so many people in writers' rooms on sitcoms that can't write, but they come up with the joke at the right moment. That's what they do. So there's so many different ways to be a writer, and Frank and I know because we're not making money doing any of them.
A little bit. No, a little bit. It's just
a little bit.
Yeah, un poquito. So yeah,
un poquito, exactly. Yeah. Do you have a connection with RuPaul? What is your connection?
I was on AJ and the Queen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Third episode. And the reason I got that role is because Michael Patrick King comes to Best in Drag Show. And I literally said to him, I said, because he was making a donation, I was announcing the donation. I said, Michael Patrick King, put me in something. I could be just like Sarah Jessica Parker, only feminine. I got the call the next week, and they called me in for AJ and the Queen. But I don't have a connection to RuPaul. I auditioned 3 times, and I'm like Chad. I got an email for the first season, and I didn't respond to it.
Say,
yeah. And then years later, I hadn't even watched the show. And I started watching. I thought, you know what? I would love to do this because I would love the platform to be able to elevate my career to the next level on some level. I would love to try this. So I auditioned, nothing. Audition again, nothing. Not even a call, no, nothing. I auditioned for the 3rd time, and the 3rd time I announced to them, listen, I'm about to have a baby. I'm not going to be able to do this next year, so you better get on it. Nothing.
Do it again. Audition again. It's time.
You know what? It's funny, though, because now that I think about it, I would love to. I have a hard time being away from my son for a month.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay, we're going to take you out. We're going to bring everyone back in. Let me just do this. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going.
There's just me now. I don't know what this means. I've finally taken over the Billy Masters show. Ah.
Okay, Frank. Sorry about that, Frank.
No, it was fun. I had my own show for 30 seconds. I was very excited. Thank you.
You know, I said take them out, and I took myself out. Oh my God. And all of a sudden, I heard what we were saying 30 seconds earlier, and I went, have I broken? Have I gone back in time? Anyway, okay, let's get everybody back in here. First, first, Alaska. Hello, Alaska. Chad.
Hi.
I'm just trying to get everybody in here.
Yes,
okay. We got everybody here. So we've got some questions from people. So the first question is from David Rothmiller, who says, question for all. What do you say about recent drag race contender Crystal Method? Is she a drag queen or a clown or a visual performer? Anybody feel like taking that?
All of the above. I don't know how do you categorize. She's just fierce. Like I see elements of different performers in her, but to me, she's like very original. I love her.
Never seen anybody like her on the show. Frank, what about you? Do you have, when you saw her, did you think, oh?
I know. It makes me think of that hashtag on Instagram, all drag is valid. You know, I think that's the modern way to look at it. If it's not your cup of tea, move on to a different kind of drag, because there is, you know, it is the great Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of drag right now. And, you know, when people say, oh, it's gone so mainstream that other stuff doesn't exist, it's like, then look harder. It's like, it's as underground as it ever was, except now it's also more mainstream than it's ever been. There are people doing stuff that will, you know, that'll terrify you in a drag club somewhere after you've gone to bed because now you're too old. So don't complain. You know, it's like, quit complaining about it. There's stuff out there that you'll be like, holy shit. You know, I mean, I was one of those people at Wigstock when Lee Bowery gave birth to a woman, you know, on stage. And it's like, you're standing there and you're, you know, 28 or whatever the hell years old I was. And, you know, you see that, but it's like someone's doing shit that's just as transgressive somewhere, and go find it. If that's your trip, do it. But no, I thought Crystal was interesting. Not my favorite of the performers, but, you know, but she could have won, and I'd have been okay with that, you know.
Alaska, you had really been known for pushing the envelope. So what is your opinion?
Well, that's the thing about drag is, like, when you try to categorize it, it instantly like changes and morphs into something else. So like, don't try to categorize it. It's like music. Like, if you like it, then fucking dance to it, you know?
Yeah, I think that Frank's point about that, you know, they're all different kind. There isn't just one kind of drag, just like there isn't one kind of comedy. And Kay, I think what's interesting is that I don't think that you really followed anybody's template. You just were you. You had to create a character from scratch.
I did, you know, and I created the character for the pageant, and then as it started evolving and I started performing and I started doing improv and I started doing theater, I tried performing in clubs for a few years and it just didn't feel like it was my niche or what I enjoyed doing the most. So I found like a career or my own lane in theater, as far as for myself. But it's funny, I find lip syncing a whole art in itself. So one would say that what I do is different from that. So I don't feel like I'm able to define somebody else's drag. They define it for themselves.
Right. You know, Chad, you're in a whole different category, because while you can do anything, you're also in the category of playing one character based on a real person. So nobody else really is there. Does that bring different pressures to you? Because there are other Cher impersonators. There is still Cher out there. So as she evolved, presumably you have to evolve.
Yeah, I don't feel pressured. I feel like inspired by it because it gives me something to do. You know, she's got, some new music or some new fabulous Bob Mackie things coming out. I know that I'm going to be busy in my garage sewing or doing whatever. And I think for me, what kind of stresses me out more than anything is that when I'm on the road, I'm expected to do Cher. And if I don't do Cher, I get all kinds of crap for that. But that kind of leaves me in a place where I do so many things. I've got such an extensive repertoire, and I feel like I can't really bring that with me. I'm not packing 4 numbers with me, on the road. That's like 4 steamer trunks. So like,
right.
I'm kind of, it's called like, I call it the golden handcuffs. You know what I mean? It's like,
sure,
it could be worse. You know what I mean? But I'm kind of tied into doing what people want. And I'm here for that because I want to make people happy, and I want them to have that experience. You know what I mean? And if I can give that to them, I'm happy to do it.
But it brings up an interesting point, which is there are performers who do Cher, like you mentioned, Scott Townsend, who sing, or Randy Roberts. And then there are people who do lip sync. Have you ever had the pressure that, if you just sang, it would add to the layer? Or do you stick in your lane of what you do best?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every city has got like a Cher mascot. Basically, every city's got their Cher. I don't feel pressured to sing. I've often wanted to sing. When COVID hit on March 12th. No. I've got a story. On March 12th, COVID was high, and I was 2 days from my audition on America's Got Talent, singing live with Cher. They shut down production on Saturday, and I was slated to perform on Monday. So I do sing. I don't think I'm a great singer. I think I get the point across and have a lot of fun with it. And I've been
if you did, Cher doesn't think she's a great singer either. She says all the time. So I think you're in good company.
Yeah, and I look at people like Scott, and I'm like, that's your niche, and this is my niche, and everyone. I think people go to different entertainers for different reasons, and people come to me for a reason, and they're going to go to him or so and so or whoever.
Right. And if they want somebody who does something else, there's somebody who'll do that.
Absolutely.
We have a comment. Oh, well, this is Alaska again. Adam Nelson says Alaska's looking handsome in boy drag.
Ooh.
Thank you.
And of course, Adam, a friend of the show, and I think most of us know him, if not under that name. But we'll get to that another time. She just to mention, she had said hi, guys. So thank you, She for saying hi. How much influence did She LaRue have on drag? Because she had really pushed the boundaries around that same time that drag was really exploding. Frank, let me ask you.
Well, I was going to say, I think She is one of those examples of a drag queen can be anything. I mean, she's a terrific
DJ
of art films and a DJ.
art films.
And we owe her a debt in quarantine. Let's be honest. Yes, Al, I know.
We're going to get carpal tunnel just watching.
Wait till the arthritis kicks in. But no, I mean, she's proven you can do anything, and that you can evolve. I mean, she talked about starting out doing sort of skag drag and being a punk rocker, and then she can also do the height of glam, and she brings it all. It's kind of bring your drag queen to work day. You know, I mean, it's like drag queens can do anything and be anything, and she's one of those people, and a sweetheart besides. You know, so
you brought up a good point. Kay, have you been able to perform? You know, you're talking about doing things as a boy and as a girl. Yes, you. Oh God, what is she? Oh, look, we're getting the baby. Hold on.
Oh,
look how cute.
Look how cute.
Oh my God, he looks just like you.
Oh. You want to go back?
Now, if you could say hello again, and Kay could lip sync it.
Oh, what?
That's okay. Oh God, it's like an Edgar Bergen thing. It's Candice Bergen's father again. He could be your little puppet. Bring him on the road, Kay.
Oh, I would love to. I want to do like a Judy show, but he won't do it.
Oh well. Do you like seeing Mama? Do we call you Mama like this?
Papa, Papa? You like to see Papa dressed like this?
Is Papa pretty? No, not pretty. No. Not pretty. Do you ever dress like Papa?
He wore my shoes yesterday.
Oh my God. Well, we have a little future winner of the crown coming up.
I love it.
Good seeing you. Thanks for joining us. Oh my God, he's so cute.
Thank you, guys.
So I guess that's a whole different question. How is it raising a child and you're in drag? Is it just this is life?
Oh, it's funny because I remember when we first talked about having children, my husband was like, "We don't live a normal life." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna create our own normal."
Right.
And it's not a big deal, but I also think he's not afraid of he's not afraid of Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny or all the characters. His mother's a clown.
Do his parents know that you perform?
Well, he goes to a Spanish immersion school out in the valley, and it's a very progressive school. So a lot of the parents from the school have come to my show, and plus I'm chair of the fundraising committee.
Of course you are.
They are so lucky to have you. They're gonna make so much money.
Living a domestic life.
Okay, we just got another message, and I guess kind of for Frank, which is love that you mentioned Kenny Sasha. He was a big help to me beginning in P-Town 1985. Of course, I remember Kenny Sasha. It's from Jeff Scott. Thank you, Jeff. There were a lot of people, Frank, that paved the way. There was like Electra and Kenny Sasha, and oh God, there were so many names that I can't think of right now. That as Jack mentioned, a lot of them were huge names in their cities, but there was no internet, there was no television, so they didn't get a lot further than their cities.
Right, but there's also now with YouTube, you can see the giants. I mean, if I never thought I would have access to an hour and a half performance by Charles Pierce, you know, or that you could sit home and watch them stream Charles Bush live from 54 Below in New York doing his cabaret act, that you'd be able to sort of see these icons performing. You know, you can go on and watch Harvey Korman as in drag from the Carol Burnett show, or Flip Wilson as Geraldine, or Jim Bailey doing any of his characters. You can find it all now, and I don't know why more people don't who love drag. I talked to someone who had never heard of any of the people I just mentioned doing an interview recently, and I sent her a list of people to explore. I don't know if she did, but why would you not? That's like someone going, here's a buffet and everything's delicious, and you're saying, no, I'll just have a Melba toast. It's like, why? It's all there for you to love. Watch the jokes that Charles Pierce does as Mae West, say, about she was in a pasture and a bull started to chase her, and she said, I was tired, so I ran. It's like, that's a really good, filthy joke, and it's like, it's there for you to savor. Why not do it? you know. So
Yeah, I'm curious who was sort of an inspiration to each of you. Obviously, Chad, I have an idea, but Alaska, let me start with you. Was there somebody who really inspired you, either your look or the opportunities afforded to you?
Well, I mean, the Queens in San Francisco, like that sort of struck me like lightning, that made me want to like do drag. Also, when I first moved to LA, Jackie B was fucking queen of the world. I mean, she still is, but like I really like, I was like, well, Jackie B has a website, so I'm gonna have a website. And this was like before Drag Race was even a realm of possibility. I was like, Jackie B has t-shirts, I'm gonna have t-shirts. No one was buying them, no one was going to my website, but I had them.
Right.
So yeah.
Was being online, did it really help you explode? Because you exploded really before social media was taking off.
It all kind of happened hand in hand.
Really?
It was like, it was because I started really like doing drag right around when Drag Race started. That was like, what did we have? We had like Facebook and like MySpace, and then it all just sort of like, it all sort of evolved from there, and it just kind of happened like side by side. I'm still figuring out social media. I don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. It's, you know, let the kids play with it.
I love it though. I have to say, I did love it.
Well, you have more free time than most of us.
I
did. Chad, I go in the assumption that Cher was a big inspiration for you, but since you said that previously you were trying to do Madonna, I'm curious, what was your first inspiration to actually try this?
I think growing up, I was a real pop culture kid. So, I mean, I was heavily influenced by, you know, people like Barbara Eden and Tina Louise and Carrie Fisher, and just like these strong, I've always been attracted to like superheroes and strong Wonder Woman, Batgirl, like, so these were all of like my childhood icons. And it wasn't necessarily a Madonna, and it wasn't necessarily a Cher. It was a love of these strong female archetypes in pop culture is really where I come from. And you can see that in like what the subject matter that I even choose to today. It's I just have a great admiration for that. My mom was a single mother. I know the depth of strength, you know, that a woman can have. So I'm just an admirer, and I like to celebrate those things and iconic things in our pop culture.
What about you, Kay? What inspired you to actually get started? Because when you talk about being young and not really fitting in, was drag give you that voice to fit in?
It did. I didn't start that way, but that's what it became eventually. But did you guys ever see the one-woman show by John Leguizamo called Spinorama?
Sure. Yeah.
So he had a character named Gladys, the mother of 5 kids, and she was at the laundromat with her baby, and she did this full monologue, and it literally was me watching people that I grew up with, and it was so every part of my body tingled when I watched that. And my friend Michael and I watched that over and over, and we would quote it all the time, like, if you fall off that dryer and break your legs, don't come running to me, all right? Monologue was full of contradictions like that, and that's exactly the kind of mother and aunt and sisters that I had. And I was like, oh my god! And then John Leguizamo was in Tu Wong Fu, and I remember when he got that, oh my god, he was like my favorite performer because I saw myself in him. And it was after Tu Wong Fu, my friends all started calling me Chi Chi. And then from there, I started performing like at Halloween, or I do these little like benefit shows with my friends, and it was bad drag. And then when I did the pageant is when it all really began. But it was inspired from John Leguizamo, and then it became like a version of my mother and my aunt. This character, kind of this constant contradiction. I walk around with an abundance of confidence that I should not have.
And probably haven't earned, but you have now. So I'm just curious, since we got to wrap. I'm curious, once this is over, if it's ever over, where do you want to see yourself going? Is there something new? Well, kind of with Chad. Chad has always given me the answer to the next question before I've even asked it. But Alaska, is there something that you want to try or something new on your agenda or on your radar?
I just miss like a live audience so much. There's like, when you're on Zoom, there's like this ever so slight delay of like half a second. So when you like tell a joke in a Zoom meeting or something, it's like that half a second delay is so long and agonizing. It's like, I just want you to laugh. So I miss live shows and live audiences. I want a fucking microphone in my hand. I just really, really miss it. So I don't know. I'm going to be doing probably the same old shit, but I just really miss it.
I suspect that Frank and I'm sitting here. I've gotten so used to waiting, because of the delay, waiting for the laugh, that I wonder when this is over on a real stage, am I going to wait? Like,
I know.
It's all gone. I know.
We're just going to wait and wait and wait, and it'll never come, but it'll be fine.
That's going to be the new show. Chad, so I know with you had been talking about getting into live singing. Is that still on your agenda for when this ends?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue to screw around with it. It's never been my goal to be a singer. That just has never been a thing, but it's been fun looking at the possibilities of what I could do, actually doing Share Live, or at least incorporating a little bit of that into my act. I don't think I need to go out and belt out a full Share concert, which would not even be possible for me anyway. But, it's just all about dabbling and just, seeing what works for me, what I enjoy. And honestly, if I don't enjoy something, I don't do it. So,
and I think that's something that we all share, is that because we kind of have created our own characters and our own opportunities, if we didn't like it, we would create something else.
Right.
Kay, you have been you've done so many strange things. I mean, you have really tried everything. Is there something still on your list that you said, aside from having a sitcom doing I Love Lucy, what would be on your list and you say, that's something I want to do?
Well, for me, it's ever evolving, and especially since the last few years, I've been really focused on my son. But I'm like Alaska. I miss an audience. I love making people laugh. There's nothing that fulfills me, or many things fulfill me. But there's something about that is really satisfying to hear an audience laugh. But it's ever evolving. I would love to be on the Broadway on a Broadway stage at some point. I do enjoy singing, but I'm not the greatest singer, but I'm a character singer. And also I find that what was I trying to say? I'm always looking for different avenues. Like I do a lot of birthday parties and stuff like that, but I'm always looking for different avenues to be able to incorporate what I do into areas that I do not belong. It's always because
if somebody wants quesadilla at their birthday party, you're there.
Hell yeah. Right, there's a fish out of water element to what I do. And I love, like I said, I love awkward moments. So that's
I think that when all of you perform, I think there's a fish out of water element, but I think it's the audience that's the one out of the element. I think you guys really control the audience, and great performers do. And I would say that everyone here is a great performer, and I am so thrilled that you all came to play with us. Frank, I give you the credit because really you've helped put these things together, and you are the conduit.
No, what? I did nothing. I admire your. Oh, now you've done it, Chad.
Yes.
Yes, my Bob Mackie book. Yeah.
Oh, honey. This is our, so Adam brought this out. This is Adam's book and mine, but it's our most valued possession. And he got it secondhand. And when we were at Rage in WeHo, there was a gentleman named Patrick Shooting Star, and he was one of Bob's graphic artists. And he went and took the book to Bob, and he signed it for Adam somewhere in here. Well, you can imagine. There it is.
There it is.
Bob signed this for Adam, and it's one of our most prized possessions. So I just want to show you that. We're ready for volume 2. Volume 2, please.
I know that he has a new book. I'm not involved, but he does have a project that I don't know if they've announced. But there's something we're all going to shit over coming book-wise. I think
We've had Bob on here before, and he's coming back. Oh, I don't know the date, but in July with the special guest. So so keep watching. Bob is great. I just want to thank all of you. Anything that we have to promote, Frank, website, book, anything.
On social media at Frank DeCaro Show, and you can get my drag audiobook, my regular book, and wait, I have to show you this.
Oh no.
A Boy Named Phyllis I wrote for Viking Penguin in 1996. It came out. It has finally been recorded as an Audible audiobook. So you can hear me reading about being a big dirty queer in New Jersey in the 60s and 70s. So that's it.
Alaska, anything coming up? Anything that we've got to look for? A website? Where can people get your music?
I don't know, iTunes. Just go to alaskathunderfuck.com or Instagram. I'm the only Alaska 5000 because someone stole Alaska Thunderfuck.
Oh,
bastards! They better not.
I also just want to say I love you guys. I love you guys all so much. Chad, Kay, Frank, Billy, like you all are amazing. So thank you.
I love you too, Alaska.
Please, and it goes ditto, I'm sure, all of us.
Right back at you.
Chad, anything that people can see you doing online or things they can buy or anything?
Yeah, just forget about Facebook because it's fascist. But just go ahead to Instagram and you can check out all the content that I've been doing during quarantine. I've got some fun new stuff I posted. And hit my website, chadmichaels.com, and I've got the infamous Share Bitch t-shirts.
Oh,
share. I dropped a couple of these off at the concert in DC for Cher and Paulette. And Cher ended up wearing it on the Kardashians, which I didn't know. Yeah, she wore it on an episode of the Kardashians. And then if that's not enough, you can also get the Chad Michaels Cher Thoughts and Prayers candle. If you need to say a little prayer, and there it is. So,
oh my god.
Oh my god.
Quarantine's been good to me, you guys.
Oh well, all right. Good for somebody. And Kay is also now, if I am not mistaken, you've been banned from Facebook.
Oh my god.
Can you tell us what happened?
They blocked me for 24 hours for a post from 4 years ago for my show Taco Kisses. I used the come hang out with this sexy chola, and they said it was inappropriate.
So stupid.
We had a Chico's Angels live reading last night, and I wasn't able to share it. We hardly got any. Oh my god, I was so upset. I was so annoyed. But anyway, follow me on Facebook. I do Tupperware shows live on Facebook twice a week.
So even though you were banned from Facebook, you're doing Tupperware shows on Facebook.
I have since got an email saying they apologize, they got it wrong, but they still have me blocked.
Wow.
All right. So people can look for you on Facebook after midnight.
Well, actually, I have an hour left. I've been 1 hour left.
Can I just ask briefly? I'm just curious, Alaska. What was it was Chad. Chad, what is your problem with Facebook? Is it fun?
No, they're editing people. They're censoring things.
Yeah.
And I get that there's some things that need to be censored. I get it. Like I don't want to hear about. I don't know. I don't want to. It's just getting crazy.
And I'll say that on this show, if I show a clip, even if I've gotten clearance for the clip, Facebook, their algorithm shows, oh, this is an NBC show, and they'll shut down the feed. I can then dispute it, and it will go back up. But people watching live, you're at the whim of the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
There's the book title.
Exactly. I've had so much fun. I haven't laughed so much in any of these shows. I will just I'm gonna just I have to plug myself. Don't forget we have new shows every Tuesday and Thursday. They're not gonna be as funny as this one, but they're every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Next week, all singer David Pevsner, Tom Judson, aka Gus Maddox, and then Billy Gilman with no crutches. He can walk. He can walk. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. And Sam Harris, who also can walk. Thank you all. I adore you people. I'm going to say goodbye to each of you individually, but stay on and we'll talk afterwards. Frank DeCaro, thank you again for being here for your drag book. We adore you, Frank. Alaska, you just make me laugh. You're so smart and you're so talented. Bye-bye, my darling. Chad Michaels, who I could have been Mrs. Chad Michaels had I played my cards right.
Could you?
Well, I could have. You don't know, but I could have. I had ways. I adore you. And thank you for finally getting on. We kept missing each other, so I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see you. It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time.
Yeah, lots of love to you.
Thank you for doing this. And of course, the fabulous Sedia. Oh, you just make me laugh. I am laughing. It's like a walking piñata. I adore it.
That's exactly how I describe myself, a walking piñata. I love you, Billy.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching the show. And oh, Jesus, now what am I getting? What's happening? Oh my God, now I'm getting like I'm getting an echo in my head. I don't know who that's coming from. Hopefully it's not coming from me. But anyway, thank you for watching the show. I, of course, have been Billy Masters. Please take care of each other. Oh my God, look, a little spit just flew onto this microphone. So it would have been like those projectiles. So wear a mask. Wear a mask if you go out, please. And we will see you on Tuesday. Be safe. Have a good weekend, guys. And just remember, if we're here, we're live. Bye-bye.